Yes, it looks like we're like good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday. Yes, Friday. I'm always happy about Friday, but really, I'm happy every day. And you should be too. But I've been hearing a lot of buzz about this term, this topic. So I figured let me just jump on live and see who's out here talking about this well, or who may not be recognizing that you are in this place. So, how many people have heard about quiet quitting? Quiet quitting. It's been all over the news this week. So I figured, as an expert in career transition and coaching and marketing, let's talk about it. Let's get it on the books. So, quiet quitting, what is it? So, the term, first of all, let me preface this by saying it's not new. It's just been repackaged for this generation. But basically, is when you commit to doing the bare minimum at work. That's it. Like, I'm just going to come in here, do my work, and come home. That's what quiet quitting is. And different sources say it's to preserve your work life balance, especially for those of us who have had to return back to the office, back on the train, on public transportation, or commuting back to work, because that eats up at your work life balance, right? When beforehand is Wednesday, in between meetings, you can just throw in a load of laundry, but that's been changing for some people. So, in some cases, that's what's being said, that it's to protect your work life balance. Okay, I think there's some truth to that, but I don't think it's the whole truth. I say when you're in a place where when you say, okay, I'm committing to do the bare minimum, I think there's a gross misalignment there. Anytime you spend most of your time, your awake life doing something, doing something, and you say, I'm going to give it my skater's best, meaning enough to just skate by and stay under the radar and not get in trouble, that's not normal behavior. And I feel a way that is being normalized about it, but it's really misalignment more than anything, because when you are in your place of purpose, when you're operating in your gifts, there may be times where um, you feel burned out, or you feel tired, or you don't want to keep moving or whatever, but it should only be incrementally. This should not be what you commit to doing for the length of the time that you're at this place. So if you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of me or not, let me just give you a quick rundown of some signs. A couple signs of quiet quitting. If you stop giving ideas, or your employees, this isn't just, or maybe you manage a team and you're noticing some resistance, some hesitation, lack of productivity moving forward, then you definitely also want to think about quiet quitting. So if you yourself, or you're recognizing your team is no longer contributing to the conversation, like they're just sitting back, or they stop giving ideas, vocalizing things, challenges, then that's definitely a sign of quiet quitting. Another one is when there's no more visualization for the future. You can't see 5 years from now. You are just focusing on getting through today. So when you can't see long range anymore, you can only, or you're choosing to only see the short term, that's really survival mode. You're just surviving so that you can get back to yourself. You can get back to your personal life. So that's another sign. Isolation or withdrawal. That's a big one, especially if you're a manager. If you're noticing an employee who used to be energetic at first or excited, that they are perpetually withdrawing from signing up for projects, for even going on the team outings. Review yourself, or like, I'm tired of seeing these people. I don't care. I don't want to talk about what I do on the weekends. I don't care what you do on the weekends. That's another sign of quiet quitting, when you just want to dip your toe in for as long as you need to, and then hurry up and hightail it and get up out of there. And then another one, there's, I'm sure, different ones, but these are the ones that I think you would see the most, is when people stop standing up for themselves. So let's say there's a misunderstanding, or there was a project that went wrong, or something happened where you're no longer in flow at work. And when you see people, you see your team just being like, okay, yep, yep, whatever you say. Or if you yourself do that, then you know they have checked out. So let's take quiet quitting to the next level. This is folks checking out, essentially. And it's important that you can see those signs within yourself. And I say that, and I'm pointing these out and extracting them specifically so that you can recognize, okay, I'm checking out slash quiet quitting. What do I do with this? And I'll get into that now. So I don't know. All of the articles that I'm reading are giving us this positive spin on it. I don't think this is a positive thing. I don't think this is normal. Whether it's you as an individual or you're managing a team, this is a problem. It's partially coming out of the Great Resignation, and there's a lot of shakeup happening. And now the shakeup is just evolving into different things. So here's my concern with quiet quitting for individuals, for people who are saying these things, when you're not giving your ideas, when you have said to yourself or have laughed at the water cooler with your coworkers to say, man, look, I ain't doing all that. I'm not going any further than this or whatever. What's your limit? Okay, so you have reached that point when you are just getting by so that you don't get in trouble and you don't get fired, but you're not going to contribute anymore. Your ideas, your thoughts, or whatever. What's your limit? Sidebar. This is not if you have had a bad day. We all have bad days, even at our dream jobs. You'll have a bad day. It's okay. You just pick yourself up and you keep going. But if this is everyday reality for you, what is your limit? That's the part of the conversation that I'm not hearing out here in the ethos as we're talking. I'm not hearing about what's next. What do you do with that? Of course, as a career coach, I'm bothered because you shouldn't accept that. That's not good for you. I just sent an email out today letting people know that your gifts, they grow, they expand with the use. And if you're doing the bare minimum, then you definitely are not using your gifts. So what happens when you don't use your gifts is just like a knife. You'll get dull. Sorry, just the best way to say it. You will get dull. And then you start to separate yourself from it. So you don't even know what it is anymore, but you can't even recognize your gifts and talents. So again, I ask you, what's your limit for you staying in this perpetual state of numbness? Because that's ultimately what you've done. You've numbed yourself to what's going on just for you to keep showing up every day. If you're a manager or company, my concern is you can't ignore this. The fact that people can go on and on for months and even years doing the bare minimum is partially your fault. You shouldn't be taking this on as, well, the work is getting done, the bodies are in the system, so I'm able to get what I need. That's a problem. You need to be creating an environment where people are giving their best. But if you aren't carrying yourself, or you just care about the work getting done, the company or your team or what have you is not going to go to the heights that it could as a result. You can be knocking things out of the park, but if you just say, well, I can't really fire them, they aren't doing anything wrong, they're not bothering me, yeah, they could be doing more, but oh well, that's a disservice to your company, and that's a sign of poor leadership, honestly. And just to give you a little background, if you watch me, I only talk about things that I have experience in. And oh, honey, do I have experience in the quiet quitting. So for me, if I'm quietly quitting, I have checked out that I no longer care. But I have integrity. So hear me out. I have integrity. So I'm going to do my work, right? And I'll make sure it's done right. But I have had conversations in my mind, right? Like sister girl conversations with me and me, where I say, all right, I'm not going any further than that. No, I'm not doing anymore. I'm gone. I've checked out. And there's a number of reasons for this. A lot of us, which is why I kind of am fighting against, is just to protect work-life balance. If you are energized at work, then it energizes you all day. But if you're being drained and pulled from work, then you're being pulled from, you don't have nothing left to give in your personal life. So um maybe you don't feel valued. That was my case, where I'm like, they don't care what I say, they don't care about my career, they don't care where I'm going, they don't care, so I don't care. Or maybe I've been overlooked for something, or I worked really hard and it wasn't acknowledged, or the acknowledgement went somewhere else for me, and just how I find achievement, it wasn't there. So the quiet quitting was a precursor for real quitting. I'm especially saying this to managers and companies and organizations. If you're noticing this in people, that can be a precursor to you having to fill a role very soon. Another thing in my experience is it showed up in my performance. Whenever I start something new, I'm excited. I'm going to give it 100%. I want to do the best for that company. I want this relationship to be a good ROI on both ends. We both winning. That's what I'm trying to do. But when I feel pulled down or overlooked enough, then that whole I'm going to do the bare minimum at work, you'll see it, because I come in guns a blazing. I come in excited. And it's one thing, right? Like you get a shiny new toy and then it's not shiny anymore. When you're in your purpose and you're aligned at work, it evolves. It doesn't dull in that same way. But if I have to pull back, you're going to see it. Managers see it. Everybody sees it. My countenance, you'll see it. And my facial expressions, if you know me, uh, it just is what it is. It's written all over my face. You can see it. And then now I'm having other issues, because then you have managers or people noticing that my performance is different. Relationships are different with college colleagues or managers that I just can't hide. Then the last thing, in my experience in this realm of quiet quitting, is there was something in the mechanism that I no longer trusted. Either I don't trust this company, or I don't trust my managers, or I don't trust my career at this company. So again, managers, listen up. If you're noticing this, and this is why I said you can't ignore this, don't ignore this. It could be a trust issue. Somebody doesn't trust what's going on. And that's an opportunity for you to lead and to have different conversations and possibly change the culture. Because if it's one person that may not trust you or the company, it more than likely is more than that. So I'm wrapping up. Don't sit in the quiet quit. Don't sit in it. For what? You guys know I'm all about getting people out of stagnant jobs and into ideal careers. And I always say, think about anything that is stagnant, like a pond or a body of water. When the water, there's no flowing, right? There's no new clean water. There's no um, getting rid of the old water. There's none of that. It's just sitting. What happens is stinks. So if you sit and quiet quit, you stink. But what I mean is it's a stinky situation all the way around. It's not, there's nothing good that comes out of, except for the fact that, okay, you are paying your bills, you're able to do that. But at what point do you supersede but beyond that? At what point do you do more? I'm assuming you want to do more than just pay your bills. You want to feel happiness, joy. You want to serve. You want to go beyond and create a different life for yourself. You can't do that if you sit in the quiet quit. And then for managers, I got a lot to say to y'all if y'all are in this space, which is this is a great place for you to integrate personal involvement. How can you get your team to have a stake in the project or on what's happening? You can give them some ownership here. Also, assess the workload. Maybe you are just pouring so much on people, they don't have the capacity to care. They just have the capacity to work and to do, which again, it's a lose lose situation. And at some point, that will turn into resentment, which will, of course, affect productivity, and then people leave. And make training and professional development a priority for your team, but it starts with you. There's an opportunity for you to get some training, whether it's through a disc assessment, drug motivators, strength finders, whatever it is. But learn, who are you as a leader? What strengths do you have? Where do you need to grow? Because then, of course, you can pass that on to your team, and that builds transparency and trust when they see that you're working to grow and that you're not just an overseer, so to speak. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I just wanted to come on and share what I thought about it. I'd love to hear your comments, questions, concerns. Don't send me any gripes. I'm not going to read them, because for what? And yeah, any other thoughts, questions about where we are in this career coaching space, where we are in the Great Resignation? Should you leave? Should you go? Should you get a master's degree? Should you start a business? I am the person to call. So give me a call if you know my number. If you don't, then you can find me on my website at www.upwardlypaypath.com, and we'll go from there. All right, I will check y'all later. Happy Friday.